Yeah, the shining golden signs. Let your inner sparking night. Fat treasure, growing bright.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Kamen Spike, back again once again. And today, people, today we're here for No.1 Sentai Gozyuger, episode 35. And this is a Kinjiro centered episode, and he ends up meeting up with an old friend named Genji. And Genji has basically done the same thing that Kinjiro did, which was give him his youth back, make himself younger again. And Genji's whole wish to get his, once he gets all the rings, is to basically have eternal youth. And he's basically telling Kinjiro that isn't that the same wish that you would like as well. And we see in the background that we have a No.1 monster named No.1 card monster. Basically, he is a card. He has a really cool design. I'm just going to say that off rip. He has a really cool design, and we see that he's a little bit down on his luck. You know, he's eating, he's drinking a lot, and we see that he's like at this little cart place where like a human man is like serving him and stuff like that. And this human dude doesn't seem to be afraid of him. You know, he doesn't seem to be afraid of him at all. But we see that there's a gold bell that is very disappointed in No.1 card monster, or No.1 card no one, and he is like basically trying to whip him into shape and things like that. But turns out this is his best friend. And I actually like the fact that Baraidon has like these little background stories between like all of them and stuff like that. Like they live in an actual, because they do live in an actual society. And it's, you know, we see Fire Candle multiple times have multiple grunts or gold bells be like his friends and things like that, his drinking buddies and things like that. So I actually like that whole thing. So this gold bell is trying to whip No.1 card monster into shape. And next episode, we're going to see that he's going to take the initiative and become a whole new man in that episode, in the next episode as well. But we see that Genji, he wants to become, you know, get all the rings and, you know, get his eternal youth. And he challenges Kinjiro to 3 different challenges. On top of that, we see that Sumino has gotten Ulto back, and the ring, the Shinkenger ring, isn't working on her, because remember, the Shinkenger ring was the only thing that she could have on her finger when she could actually wake up, and now it's not working. So Sumino says that her new wish is that to get her sister to wake up, and this kind of affects Horu in a way. But we see that now that Kinjiro has been challenged by Genji to 3 different challenges: a cooking challenge, a card game challenge, and a baseball game challenge. And now that he gets challenged to all 3 of these things, they go at it. They have the cooking challenge where they both have to make rice. Kinjiro ends up winning that one. We see that they end up doing a card game one, and Genji ends up using that one as well. Also, Genji is using the Die Ranger ring, and he's Die Ranger Red, which I'm actually really happy to see, because I think we have seen Die Ranger Red previously, and he was just like a shadow for Kuon. You know, Garud was using him, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have we seen Die Ranger any other time other than this one? I don't think so. We've seen everybody. We've seen a lot of Rangers, so I don't know if we've seen Die Ranger at this point. I don't think so, but correct me if I'm wrong. But him and Kinjiro, they ended up going into this baseball challenge, and they end up transforming, and they have like the baseball outfits with like, you know, this goofy thing on their head with like the goofy baseball bat on top of their helmets, and it looked really weird. It looked really funny. But they're 1v1 in this baseball game, and the rest of the team, you know, the rest of the Rangers are watching this and stuff like that, basically cheering on Kinjiro, and they were basically acting as the judges for the last 2 events. So yeah, so they are going back and forth in this baseball game. They're using their powers and everything. It looks really, really good. And then that's when Gold Bell shows up, and he's basically fighting him and Fire Candle, and they end up fighting the Gozyuger while Kinjiro is handling his business with Genji. And we see that the Gold Bell is basically filming everything. He's filming everything while talking to No.1 card monster in the background. While he's talking to him, he's basically trying to get him to see and kind of see what he can find from and get like the weakness for the Gozyuger. And he has like an ability. He had like one little ability where he was able to bring back to life 2 previous No.1 monsters that we had defeated earlier in the series. And we see that everybody's fighting these guys and stuff like that. Fire Candle's getting in on the action. And while this is happening, our other 2 boys are 1v1 in their baseball game. So after they've defeated all the monsters, we see that the Gold Bell, he ends up summoning, thanks to Bouquet, he ends up summoning a whole armada, a whole fleet of the Baridon mechs, right? And that's when we see Horu go into Ryo Tegazord and basically starts fighting this big giant armada of all these different mechs, right? Which is actually really cool to see. They've never done that technically in this series so far, like had a whole armada just come at them like that. And while that's happening, we see the Horu ends up defeating all of them, and he ends up defeating the Gold Bell. And the Gold Bell basically tells No.1 card monster that, hey, he said, hey, you are my No.1 best friend. He ends up dying, and this basically motivates No.1 card monster to basically whip himself into shape and and basically avenge his friend who essentially just sacrificed himself. So after that, we see that Kinjiro comes back to the cafe, and when he comes back to the cafe, they basically talk to him about like what happened to the challenge. The challenge really never ended like that. So, but he starts to think about what Genji said to him about, you know, your wish wasn't your wish, you know, to have eternal youth. And now Kinjiro is starting to think about what his wish truly is, and starting to rethink his wish, which I think is basically gonna happen with everyone. The thing that it seems like everyone is like, it seems like we're going down this little path where everyone is kind of like revamping their wishes, like thinking about what they really want their wish to be and really thinking deeper on that wish. And we see it with Sumino, who has basically changed her wish into my wish is to basically wake my sister up. So I think the rest of the team are going to go through that same thing. And we see that Kinjiro is going to be able to use the Ryo Tegazord form in the next